Michael Carter was nearing the end of another exhausting 12-hour shift at the Flagstaff Regional Medical Center. The evening air drifting in from the automatic doors was cool, carrying the faint smell of pine from the surrounding forests. He rubbed his eyes, ready to sign out, when a sudden commotion near the entrance made him turn. A tiny figure stumbled through the doorway, dust-covered, trembling, and barely able to stand. Before anyone could react, the little girl collapsed to the floor, her breath shallow, her lips cracked, and her small hands clutching her stomach as if fighting waves of pain. Staff rushed toward her immediately, but Michael reached her first, instinct kicking in before thought. He knelt down, gently lifting her head, noticing how light she felt, as if she'd been carrying her body on sheer will alone. Her clothes were coated in desert dust, her hair tangled, and her skin frighteningly pale. She tried to speak, barely forming a whisper that dissolved into dry air. One thing was clear at first glance: she was severely dehydrated, weakened beyond her limits, and desperately in need of help. Within moments, the ER team surrounded her, placing oxygen, preparing IV fluids, and checking vitals that told a worrying story. Michael stayed right beside her gurney as they rolled her inside. He listened carefully to the doctors, noting her dangerously low hydration levels, low blood sugar, and the signs of prolonged exhaustion. Even among the trained medical staff, something about her condition felt different, like she had endured not hours but days of struggle. Michael felt a knot form in his stomach as he wondered how long she had been alone. As they worked to stabilize her, Michael noticed small hints on her clothing, traditional stitching, patterns commonly woven into garments by local Apache families. It clicked: she wasn't just lost, she was a child from one of the nearby tribal communities. But Flagstaff wasn't close enough for a child to simply wander into by accident. The realization that she might have walked miles across rugged land, without water or food, tightened his chest. He couldn't imagine the fear and determination that journey must have taken. Hours passed as the girl's condition slowly improved. Her breathing steadied, her skin regained a hint of warmth, and her eyes fluttered open in brief moments of exhaustion and confusion. Each time she stirred, Michael was there, offering gentle reassurance. He helped the doctors interpret her gestures when she was too weak to speak, brought warm blankets, and made sure she received small sips of electrolyte water as soon as it was safe. For some reason he couldn't explain, he felt responsible for her well-being in a way that went beyond duty. When his shift ended, Michael didn't leave. He stayed seated beside her bed, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest. The hospital lights hummed softly, and the monitors beeped steady, comforting rhythms. Nurses passing by nodded knowingly. Michael had always been the kind of person who couldn't walk away when someone needed him. The girl, even in sleep, seemed to sense his presence. Her hand occasionally twitched toward him, as if reaching for someone familiar. Each moment strengthened Michael's connection to her. The hospital tried to reach her family, but no guardian had yet arrived or called. Hours stretched into the middle of the night. Michael felt a growing ache, wondering what circumstances had forced such a young child to wander alone. Was she lost, escaping danger, searching for help? The thought of her walking under the scorching Arizona sun, dehydrated and scared, made him swallow hard. He gently stroked her forehead, promising silently that she was safe now and wouldn't face another moment of suffering alone. By the early morning, the girl finally opened her eyes long enough to whisper a single word, soft, fragile, and heavy with emotion. Though the hospital staff couldn't fully understand it, Michael recognized it as part of her language, a plea mixed with relief. He didn't know her story yet, or the journey that had brought her to the hospital doors, but he knew one thing for certain. This child had fought with every ounce of strength she had left, and fate had placed him there at the exact moment she needed someone who wouldn't leave her side. 4 days had passed since the little Apache girl had been brought into the hospital, and Michael Carter had thought about her every single day. Her fragile voice, her trembling hands, and the weight of fear in her eyes lingered in his mind long after she had been discharged to tribal social services. On this quiet morning, he was preparing for another long shift, sipping lukewarm coffee as the early sunlight filtered through his kitchen window. As he grabbed his keys and moved toward the door, a sudden, firm knock cut through the stillness, making him pause mid-step. Curious and slightly uneasy, Michael opened the door halfway, then froze. Standing on his porch were 3 Apache women, dressed in traditional woven shawls, their presence strong and dignified. Their faces held a mixture of emotion, gratitude, solemnity, and something deeper he couldn't name. They didn't speak at first. They simply stood together, united in purpose, as though the air itself carried the weight of their arrival. Michael immediately recognized the girl's features in them, the same eyes, the same quiet resilience etched into their expressions. The eldest woman stepped forward, her gray hair braided neatly down her back. She carried a small woven bracelet, crafted with remarkable detail. Beside her stood the girl's aunt, holding a beautifully carved wooden figure shaped like a guardian spirit. And between them, the girl's mother held a pouch of sacred herbs, sage, sweetgrass, and cedar, their scent soft but powerful. These weren't ordinary gifts, they were symbols of deep respect, items never given casually. Michael felt a jolt in his chest, overwhelmed by the honor embodied in their gesture. Before he could speak, the grandmother raised her hand gently, asking for a moment of silence. Her eyes softened as she looked at him, and in a calm, steady voice, she thanked him for saving their child. She spoke of the desert path the girl had taken, the fear their family endured when she went missing, and the prayers they offered, hoping someone kind would find her before it was too late. Each word carried depth, spoken with the assurance of someone who understood life's fragility intimately. The girl's mother struggled to hold back tears as she stepped forward. She explained that her daughter had attempted to walk for help after sensing that her family couldn't reach town in time during an emergency. Her child had shown bravery beyond her years, but without Michael, she might not have survived. The mother's voice trembled as she expressed how grateful they were, not just for the medical care, but for the compassion he had shown, the way he stayed by her daughter's side long after duty required it. Her gratitude felt raw, deeply human, and profoundly sincere. Michael felt his throat tighten. He tried to respond, but words felt insufficient. He looked down at the gifts, each one handmade, carrying meaning, tradition, and spiritual value. These were not simply tokens, they were pieces of identity, pieces of history. He accepted them with both hands, a gesture that instinctively felt right, and bowed his head slightly in respect. The women smiled softly, noticing his sincerity. In that moment, the cultural distance between them felt smaller, bridged by a simple truth: he had cared for someone they loved, and that mattered more than anything else. In the stillness of his porch, surrounded by the morning breeze and the quiet dignity of the women before him, Michael realized something profound. Acts of kindness ripple far beyond the moment they are given. Saving the girl hadn't just been a medical duty, it had been a thread woven into a larger story, connecting him to a family, a culture, and a community he had never expected to meet. As the women stepped off the porch and walked away, Michael stood there holding the gifts, feeling a deeper purpose settle within him, an understanding that compassion, when freely given, returns in ways far more meaningful than he could ever have imagined.